of preparing some dinner. And it's one of those cold, rainy days. And I thought, well, let's put together some delicious, delicious homemade soup. And I wanted some vegetable soup. I just thought, we need vegetables. We've had so many fun things along the way that we needed more vegetables. So that's what we're working on today. So I'm getting in the apron, and then we're going to start doing what we need to do and what we love to do, which is get in the kitchen and do some cooking. And I'm going to shut these doors. Hopefully, keep the noise out. You know how that goes. Keep the noise out. I'm going to get you over here to the stove, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. So I've got you right here where I can see you, and I'll tell you some of the things that I've chopped up in an effort to save a little bit of time. But you can see how large this pot is. Woohoo! It is a nice big one. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to heat it up, get it nice and hot. Then I'm going to drizzle just a tiny bit of oil in. And we're going to cook the onions, get them cooked, get the celery cooked, and then start to add the various layers as we go. So I hope you all are having a wonderful day, because hello. It has been one of those days today. I had a fun time with a bunch of ladies, and I actually worked the food bank today. So this has been a rather busy day, but one that's been very valuable. So I'm just chopping up the onions, getting them ready while that pot is heating up. And we need all the vegetables that we can get, because I'm telling you, I have been listening and trying to make sure that I follow. You go for your checkup, and the doctor says you need to make sure that you're keeping an eye on your diet, make sure you're eating well. Eating well means eating the veggies. So eating your veggies, eating your fruit. So that's what I'm trying to keep going. So we have really been watching what we eat since Thanksgiving, because we had such a good time at Thanksgiving. Food was delicious. Desserts were delicious. And now is the time to take these few moments while we can to get some healthy stuff in us, because Christmas is coming, and we're going to be eating all kinds of fun things and everybody's specialty, whatever it may be. But typically, most of those specialties are not necessarily the most healthy. So we're going to try to put together a delicious vegetable soup. And the good thing about this vegetable soup is that not only can we have it for dinner, not only can we have it for dinner, but we can freeze it and put it away and have it for one of those cold, chilly days. So that's what we're going to be doing. So, okay, my pan is nice and hot. I've got just some neutral oil. This is canola oil. I'm going to put in about 2 tablespoons in. 2 tablespoons in. And let me see. I want to make sure that you're kind of in that pot so you can see all the goodies that's going to go in there, because we're going to put quite a bit. All right, so I'm going to move this pot around. I'm going to turn the burner down just a little bit, because I don't want things to burn, and I don't want a lot of brown on my onions and celery. So there's our onions. You can hear a little bit of sizzle. And I'm coming over here, get more onions. I'm putting in 2 whole onions. And that's because we like onions, and this is going to be a huge pot of soup, because my plan is for us to have it for tonight, but to also have plenty left over. And I actually have a friend who's a little under the weather. So I think I may take her some vegetable soup as well. I think she'll enjoy that. And so I'm just going to let that get happy. Let me get some salt. And got that here. Salt has a tendency, I'm just going to make sure that I'm not putting too much. So I'm putting in about, at this point, about a half teaspoon of salt. And the reason for that, I'm going to keep it light because we're going to spice as we go. You know, that's the nice part. We can add all the spice that we need, but we don't want to over spice it at the beginning because we need to see where it's going. Where are we going with this? Okay, now I had already chopped up celery. So I have lots of good celery to go in here. And I'm going to try to take it out because I didn't want it to turn colors. So I actually put it in some water. So I'm going to put the celery in. I've got about 3 cups of celery that's going to go in there. Oh, that smells so good. Celery always has such a good fragrance. So we've got our onions, we've got our celery. I'm going to add in some black pepper. And I need a towel here. I've got squash, all kinds of things that are going to go into this mixture that we're going to put together, and we're going to let it simmer for a little while on the stove. Okay, so I'm sprinkling in a little bit of pepper. And if you like more, then you can add more. I also have some red pepper flakes because we like a little bit of red pepper flakes, and now's a good time to put that in. So this is going to be about 1/4 of a teaspoon of some red pepper flakes. It just kind of kicks up the flavor and doesn't make it hot or extra spicy. It just adds that little background flavor that you will like. So we've got all of this. I'm going to give it a little more heat because now that we've gotten the celery in there, it kind of cooled off real quick. Now, you know, in a vegetable soup, we need as many vegetables as we can get. And what I did was I knew I had bags of vegetables in the freezer that I needed to use. One of the secrets that I love to use is I keep a bag of hash brown potatoes, diced hash brown potatoes. So I've got those. I have some. I'm going to add those into the soup. And I'm going to add all of those in because it was only about a half a bag. And this is a 32-ounce bag, so approximately 18 ounces. It was a rather small bag, I thought, but anyway, we're going to add that into the mix, get those in. So we've got potatoes, we've got onions, we've got celery. It's going to be so good. There we go. Now, we got to have a little bit of color, but before we do that, I'm going to actually add a portion of this cabbage in because I want that cabbage flavor in. So I'm going to add a little bit of that in early. And then I'll add some more toward the end. And I'm going to let that just, all of that, get happy with each other. Now, as you know, because we only added a little bit of salt earlier, I'm going to put in a little bit more because I know at this point, all of this is going to need some salt. You want it to have some, as my mother would say, you want it to have some sense. So you want to make sure that you put the seasoning in. All right, so we've got carrots. I cut up some carrots. And let me pour the water off of that. Actually, I'm going to pour the water over into another container because eventually we're going to need a little bit of water. So let me do that. Okay, I got those taken care of. So I'm going to add the carrots in. And they're going to be really good. You know, carrots need time They need time. The potatoes are going to need time. Look at that. Look at the color. That's what you're going for. Lots of color. Okay, so we're going to let that get started. I'm going to push some of this cabbage over. And when I went to the grocery, they had these bags of sliced squash. So we're gonna take one of those bags, and our squash is gonna go in there as well. But I'm gonna cut it because if we leave it in slices, it's gonna be too large. And so I'm gonna take the time to cut them down just a little bit. So where'd my knife go? Here we go. We got our knife ready to go. So I'm going to stack a bunch of these, and I'm going to probably cut them into half. I think that'll be the perfect size because by the time they cook, you don't want them too small. But putting all those together, just give them a chop. These are pre-washed, which is nice. I use quite a few of these often because sometimes you just don't feel like doing all the slicing and dicing, and so that's what we're doing. Look at those colors, aren't they pretty? So we've got our squash. We've got all that in. So what have you guys been up to today? Have you done anything fun? Like I said, I went to the food bank today, and that is always a wonderful time to be able to go and to give service. And I guess it always amazes me at the number of people who are there, who are in need of food and other items. Now, what I'm going to do is that I have a container here with water already in it. And it does have a few carrots in it, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. I'm also going to add another full container. This is about four cups. So I'm going to get some cool water and add those 4 cups of water. Okay. I'm going to add those in. Okay, that's great. And then I'm also cut the heat up just a little bit more so it can start to come to a simmer. We want this to be really good and really delicious. Now, you all know I put today on the community page, I had a couple of people who were asking about house seasoning and what I put in the house seasoning. So I decided I would post that on the community page. So it is out there, and I'm pulling my house seasoning out as we speak because I want to be able to add some of those other seasonings in. Oh, smells good. All right, I'm just going to give it a good sprinkle. And, you know, in my house, in this particular house seasoning, there is very, very, very little salt because I like to be able to add my own salt. And then that way I will know if I'm getting too much or if there's just not enough. So we're going to give all of that a good zhuzh. I'm also going to, at this point, as soon as we get this up to a boil, it hadn't gotten there yet, but we want this to boil. You know, a watch pot never boils. Hello, hello, hello. This is fun. Glad to see you guys. I decided today, instead of just uploading a video, that I would come on live. And, you know, it's just fun. And you get to talk to the family, see the family, and you get to find out what I'm doing in the kitchen. I cook every night. And so it's always a good time. So we are taking care of that, getting our delicious vegetable soup made. And I think you're really going to enjoy it. So let's try to, uh, we're waiting for our pot to get nice and hot and start to get bubbly. And once that happens, woo, we will watch the magic come about. There we go. So we've got house seasoning in here. I put about a teaspoon at this point because we don't want to overdo it. You know, we don't want too much of anything in there. So we've got our red pepper flakes. We got our other vegetables that we'll add in toward the end. We've got our potatoes in there. And we're just going to let this come to a simmer. It's going to be great. Now, I'm also going to add, I have some box vegetable broth that I like to use. This is from Target, and it's their Good and Gather brand. It is a really good broth, and everybody's vegetable broth is not good. Hi, Dee. I see you out there. Dee and I are going to be whipping up some cookies coming up pretty soon. That's going to be fun. And so I am just glad to see you out there. All right, so I'm going to put in this entire box of vegetable broth. Now, you know, it didn't have to be vegetable. We could have added chicken. We could certainly put meat in. You could add beans if you like beans. And I may take half of this and actually put some either cannelli beans or pinto beans, whatever kind you like, in there. And oh yeah, this is what we want. All right, so I'm going to cut this up on high because it's taking a little while to come up. Okay, so most of the time when I'm fixing vegetable soup, I usually add chicken broth, but I did want this just vegetable because it's just so healing to the body when you have good green vegetables. And lots of green, lots of color. The more color you have, the better it is. And when you talk about trying to get, you know, they used to say, what is it, 5 a day? Trying to get your 5 vegetables in. Well, now they have learned, research says we need anywhere from 10 to 12 vegetables a day. And so we are going to try to get we're going to pour in as many vegetables as we possibly can into this soup. And like I said, I went through and I had fresh vegetables that I actually chopped and, you know, did all the good stuff too. And then I also have a few frozen vegetables that are going to be going in that I know will add a little additional color to what we're doing. So we've got this on the stove and it is going to be wonderful. Are you guys finished Christmas shopping? I have not even started yet. You know, it's once your grands and your children get to a certain age, it's not easy to shop for them. You know, because everything they want, especially once they get past 15, their gifts are as expensive as ours. And you know, they think, well, you know, Mimi and Papa, they can do this. And I'm thinking, no, Mimi and Papa are retired, so we can't do that. But it's fun nonetheless. I try to, I always have them give me a list of what they like, and then I pick from that list as many of the things that I can do. So that makes it fun. And also makes it fun because I usually put it in one of those red Santa bags and take it to them and mix it up. So that everyone, like at one house, there's 3 grands. So all of their gifts are mixed up. So one person, whomever the oldest one is, or the youngest, whichever, we switch, and they get to distribute the gifts. So that's fun. They like to do that. And so our soup it's getting there. I'm starting to see a bubble or two. I'm going to go ahead and add in the rest of the cabbage to our mix. I'm going to add in our squash. Get our squash in. And once I look at it, then I'll decide if I need to put more in. I didn't use that entire bag of squash that I had. Oh, that looks so pretty. Let me turn you so you can see. Get down here in this pot. So those flavors are going to come together. Now, I always like to have corn. I like to have a little bit of green beans in there. So I'm getting ready to add that. Now, I like picking up a small bag of soup mix. And you can get that in your vegetable section. So I'm just cutting the top off of that. So here's our soup mix. Our soup mix has some vegetables that probably aren't necessarily in season at this time. It just depends on where you live. Oh, I saw that. Postal strikes. Oh my. This is not the time for a postal strike. Just really backs things up. You know, the timing is awful. I'm sure they do it because they know people want to receive their cards and mail and all those good things, especially at Christmas, and trying to send gifts to people who don't necessarily live in the areas where you are. And so all of that, let me get a spoon. We need a spoon so I can make sure our seasonings are just right. Needs a little more salt. I think I'm going to sprinkle this time. Okay, a little more salt. We need a little more pepper. Okay. And in my mix, in my seasoning mix, we've got onion powder, we've got garlic powder. All those things are in there. So that adds that background flavor that you want. Now this soup, and it really does look good. I'm going to try to bring you down a little bit closer because it's more about the soup than it is about me. There we go. So there's our soup. Ooh, that looks so good. So this is going to need to simmer. Probably a good, I'd give it 30 minutes at least to an hour. And, you know, just turn the heat down, put the top on it, let it simmer. Those vegetables will start to marry with each other. And that's exactly what you want. You want all of this to come together. But it's going to be so good by evening. Okay, got all the vegetables in, got the salt and pepper in, got, you know, I may add just a dash more of house seasoning, just a little more, because I kind of like that oniony, and you see it's a little dark, that's because paprika is in there, which is going to add a nice color to the soup. Now, you can add tomatoes to the soup, but I'm going to let this cook down just a little bit. My vegetables need to cook down. And then I think I may add 1 can of diced tomatoes because I'm a tomato soup girl. Love that tomato soup. In fact, you know we're a tomato family. We like a lot of tomatoes. And so I think I'll add just a little bit of tomato in there. Let me see if I was sure I had one. All right, I got a can, but all of this can is not going in that soup. I'm just letting you know. I haven't lost my mind, but we're going to put a good bit in there, enough to give it a little extra flavor, pick up that tomatoey base. I even like pouring the juice in before I put the tomatoes in, so let's add that. Kind of drain it just a little bit. Put a little extra tomato in. We get another spoon. And we're going to put in a couple of scoops of tomato. That's one. I think I'll put one more scoop. Two. And that's going to add just enough tomato to give this a great taste and a beautiful color. Now guys, here it's about 227. So I'm thinking at about 327. This will have a chance to get its boil on, and once it simmers for about an hour, it's going to be perfect. It's going to be perfect. So we've got all the vegetables in, and it is absolutely delicious. Now, before you leave, if you're still there, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Be sure to leave a comment. Let me know that you were here. And this may be, I told you, I'm trying to make some changes for the new year and some things that I'd like to do for the new year. And I'm thinking this may be one of them. We may do a Wednesday quick live, not a whole hour, but enough kind of a dinner prep. And that will give you a chance to see what we're having for dinner and to be a part of the family as we cook. Now, so I hope you have enjoyed being here with me as we're trying to get this dinner going. I'm going to pull out a top, and I think this is the top to this pan. Yes, it is. I'm going to put that right there, because then I will post a picture and let you know exactly what this looks like when it's all finished. So on the community page later on tonight, or even first thing in the morning, hopefully today, but you will get to see the picture. I know I will take it. So, mwah, 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 mwah. Have fun. Have a great rest of the day. And I'm going to let this simmer and let it cook. And I'll show you that bowl of vegetable soup later on.